Apparently this video will be accompanied by a cattail. Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel, and yes, this is Retro Wrestling Rewind. I know I tried to do the intros a little bit different for these, but it's been wild trying to get this video done. Obviously, it's after Raw. Okay, Raw ended way earlier today, so that's not a good excuse. I had a busy weekend. It was Father's Day weekend. Enough of that. You get it. Let's move on and let's talk about old wrestling. Because last time I was doing the dice roll, which may not be a thing for a little while I get used to this new schedule, I landed on ECW because I wanted the freedom to pick any ECW show I wanted, and I picked Heatwave 1998, which is a really good show, by the way. I do try to pick these shows based on certain matches, certain moments, and not based around a whole show just being good, because sometimes you got to review crappy shows. You just do. I don't want to, though, so I decided to pick ECW Heatwave 98. ECW is properly flying around this time in 1998. The image behind me is from a tag match on the show that we will get to later. And it is really, really good overall. I think if you want an idea of what ECW used to be, this is not a bad place to start. And we'll get to the reason I chose this show a little bit later on. And I have stories to tell. And I'm going to say something that might get me trapped into the fandom zone at some point in this video. Probably pretty early on. But without further ado, this is Retro Wrestling Rewind, which is super easy to say, by the way. Let's talk about ECW Heatwave 1998. I almost just said ECW 98. What? So, as always with ECW shows, there's always big opening promos. Although this one wasn't big, I'll give him a little bit of credit. There's plenty of talking on this show, don't get me wrong. But Joey Styles is in the ring. He introduces Shane Douglas, who's the ECW champion and is injured. So he's going to be the co-commentator, color commentator for the evening, while Francine just kind of exists. And Shane Douglas just screams about Bam Bam Bigelow and Taz. So, fine opening segment. I'm not going to rate it. I don't rate segments usually. But the opening match. I'm going to say the phrase, what do you expect me to do, quite often during this show. Hold on. I got to do something below the camera. Because there's just so much really good pro wrestling, which proves that ECW wasn't always about violence. It was also about really good pro wrestling. Because their opening contest is just incredible, and yes, that's actually his name, against Jerry Lynn. And this is just a phenomenal professional wrestling match. It's what we know and love today. Dives, fighting on the outside, brawls, interference. Well, I'm not saying we all love interference, but all of that in one match. And it's just really, really good. Just incredible, was ahead of his time. Jerry Lynn was eons ahead of his time. And for those of you who don't know already, I'm pretty sure I've told this story on the channel before. When I trained to be a wrestler, I trained with Jerry Lynn for a short period of time. And it's unforgettable. He was super nice. He was training me on chain wrestling, which I didn't expect, just because, I don't know, you think Jerry Lynn, that's not the first thing that pops to your mind, but it should be. He's a very good chain wrestler. And also shout out for Jerry Lynn when he met my wife, and when he realized it was my wife, he said, I'm sorry. Jerry Lynn might be my favorite wrestler of all time for being a complete jackass. I love him, obviously, but it was an experience I'll never forget, and seeing him wrestle back in 1998 was absolutely phenomenal. Again, this match is, I'm not going to say it, but it is really good. Again, lots of dives, lots of really intense power bombs. Like, I know power bombs are whatever in 2026, unless your name is Gunther. I am so sorry. I'm trying. My son has something that is just destructive. I'm doing my best with this almost last minute video. Almost didn't do this video this week because it got delayed so much. But anyway, lots of, like I said, big power bombs. A couple of Frankensteiners that look really good from Jerry Lynn. One of them he does from the outside middle buckle through a table on the floor. And I don't know how you do that and make it look as good as Jerry Lynn did. But it's really the last couple of minutes to finish, I guess, that I want to talk about the most. Because Just Incredible came out with a group of people that are just called his entourage. I don't think they were the Impact players just yet. And it was a guy who's just called Jason, a girl just called Chastity, and Nicole Bass. And I want to touch on Nicole Bass for just a brief second, and no, that wasn't meant to be a euphemism. Joey Styles makes a lot of really gross comments towards Nicole Bass, and we all know how she was treated in the WWF. Can we just stop? Like, I know we don't do it anymore because people like Rhea Ripley, Jade Cargill, and Jordan Grace exist, but why were we doing it back in 1998? No, Nicole Bass wasn't a model. She was a bodybuilder, but she looked good. I'm not going to sit here and pretend she didn't look good. I hated the fact that Joey Styles made these comments. It really does take you out of the match. And don't even get me started on what the WWF did with Nicole Bass. I'm glad we moved away from that, but it's stupid, and I hated it. I had to get it out of my system. Now, let's backtrack and talk about the match. The referee gets distracted. I don't mean to laugh. It's ECW, and we distracted the referee. Whatever. Referee gets distracted. Jason tries to come in. He gets powerbombed. Again, just massive powerbomb from Jerry Lynn. Nicole Bass comes in because she's a bodybuilder. She gets hit with a chair, not in the head. I think it was just in the stomach and the back. Or she got booted in the stomach and took a chair to the back, something like that. Before Chastity gets in there and gets tombstoned. I don't know. It's just what happened. Jerry Lynn beats up everybody, again, tombstoning Chastity, before she puts Justin Credible on the second rope, goes for something. Justin Credible reverses it. Second rope tombstone, which he called the That's Incredible. 1, 2, 3. Just an amazing start to the show. And now I'm going to say the thing that's going to get me hoyed into space, locked in the Phantom Zone, and whisked away forever. You can see the inspiration for AEW in this match and in ECW. I'm not saying they're the same company. I'm not saying Tony Khan is Paul Heyman. I'll be shot by a sniper if I say that. But what did Justin Credible win with? A second rope tombstone. I'm pretty sure MJF used that move 2 weeks ago to win a match. So Tony Khan has mentioned ECW many times in interviews. I'm just saying, if you watch this show and you're an AEW fan, you're going to see the influences. And if you don't want to see the influences because you hate Tony Khan that much, that's on you. I think you're a bit of a goober, but whatever. I gave this match 4 stars. What else was I going to give it? It's 2 incredible professional wrestlers who changed the game. Yes, I'm biased towards Jerry Lynn. I will always be biased towards Jerry Lynn. A fantastic match that, honestly, if you like good technical wrestling with some good hard-hitting moves, again, those power bombs, I can't get over them. Check this one out, 4 stars. After this is once again a match that I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do other than just tell you about it. And it's Lance Storm versus Chris Candido. Now, this was during a storyline where they were a team, and they lost the titles, and then Lance Storm jumped Chris Candido. And Chris Candido had his ear ripped off. I didn't go out of my way to find out if that was real or part of the story, but he had some headgear on, and if you hit him on the left side, it was like, oh my God, my ear was ripped off. But he had plastic surgery to fix it. So whether it was a story or not, in kayfabe or in the story, he was good enough to wrestle. He just had to wear this headgear. Once again, these two are incredibly good technical wrestlers. They have a good brawl because they're feuding. Lots of dives into the crowd during this show, and there's one specifically that I'm going to talk about later that, oh man. But the move I want to focus on in this match is a wheel kick. Just a spinning wheel kick. And you're probably thinking, a spinning wheel kick? I saw that 72 times yesterday. My grandma did one. Good for you. No, it's the height. You do not understand unless you go see this match for yourself. I wish I could have found it for the background, but I just use YouTube for my backgrounds. But Chris Candido goes to do a leapfrog. And you know you have to jump pretty high for a leapfrog. Again, I trained to be a pro wrestler. I know how high you have to jump for leapfrogs. Chris Candido jumps way higher than he needs to. And then Lance Storm also jumps, spins, and kicks him in the face. It is incredible. You get Richard Attenborough out there to narrate the damn thing. It is so good. The other notable thing about this match, or one of the other notable things about this match, is that when Chris Candido comes out, he also brings out Tammy Lynn Sitch with him, a.k.a. Sunny, who, and I looked into this, had been fired from the World Wrestling Federation just 4 days before this show because she had upset people backstage and was late too much. For those of you who don't know, Sunny was one of the biggest stars in the WWF in the late 90s, and she was dating Chris Candido, but of course, because he was in ECW, he wasn't allowed to talk about her. So, WWE and old ECW, or WWF, I suppose, did have a relationship, but it was super dead by the time this show went on. But she gets to come out there with him. Joey Styles makes some really weird remark where he's like, oh, well, she's wearing red, and Lance Storm has red on his trunk, so maybe she's with Lance Storm. That was dumb. I don't get why he said that. Joey Styles is an all-time commentator, but he was high or something on this show. Maybe he wasn't high. Maybe that was the problem. But nonetheless, she does get involved in the finish, and Chris Candido hits a, I think, running powerbomb. Lots of powerbombs on this show, which is called the Blonde Bombshell, which is named after Sunny. Chris Candido wins. Good match. I know I'm kind of zipping through it. I don't mean to zip through it. Again, this is a very last-minute decision to make this video since I skipped it over the weekend, and I watched all these matches in succession over several days last week. So, really good match. Again, dives in the crowd, fighting on the floor, and the running powerbomb, the Blonde Bombshell, did look really good. I enjoyed that move. I enjoyed this match. I also gave it 4 stars. Again, why not? 2 incredible pro wrestlers doing great things, having a good story. And again, people say stuff like this is lost in the Big 2-6. I don't think it's lost, but it's nowhere near as good as it used to be. So if you want to see it again, I would check out this match. After this, we cut to a video that Joey Styles acted like he was all surprised we were going to show. There was supposed to be a match on this show between Jack Victory and New Jack. It was going to be a weapons match. But before the show, Jack Victory had the Dudley Boys jump New Jack, and then the hardcore chair swinging freaks, got it, save New Jack, and New Jack was not allowed to compete, so we didn't have it. I looked into this to see if maybe New Jack was injured or Jack Victory or something. There was just nothing. They just decided to do this, so whatever. ECW be ECW. And by the way, if you have no idea who I'm talking about with the hardcore chair swinging freaks, it's Axel Rotten and Balls Mahoney. That's just who they were, and we'll talk about the Dudleys later. I didn't write down when this happened, but there was also an interview at some point during the show. Before this match, obviously. It was RVD, Sabu, and Bill Alfonso. And I was going to reenact the interview, but I feel like I don't want to upset people's eyeballs. But the camera was doing this, basically, the whole time for the interview. Slower. It was like, zoom into RVD, zoom back out. Tilt and zoom into Sabu, zoom back out. It was tilting in and out and zooming in and out, and I hated it. I hated every second of it. I'm so glad production's gotten better. But I bring up that interview because up next was Rob Van Dam and Sabu, the match behind me, against Hayabusa and Shinzaki. Shinzaki was his last name. I apologize, I didn't write down his first name. I think he was known at, he was in World Wrestling Federation for a little while. I forget what his name was. Joey Styles said it on commentary. He was like known as bleh. I think Hakuzi or Hazuki or something like that. Doesn't matter. This match goes 20 minutes. And I think 80% of it is the fucking entrance. I doubt that's how they time things on Wikipedia. That's where I saw all the time. But I am not kidding you when I say the entrance for RVD and Sabu takes forever. Then they cut a promo that takes forever. Then Shinzaki and Hayabusa come out and they take forever. I don't mean to harp on this, but it seriously goes on for ages. And then they do the introductions. I know it's a tag team title match, and in title matches, everyone comes out, then you do the introductions. But everything else takes so damn long. Like, please ring the bell. Please, ding, ding, ding. There, I said ding, ding, ding. Can we start wrestling now? But once the match gets started, it does start a little slower than you may expect from these four competitors. RVD, one of the all-time greats. Sabu, a legend, rest in peace, as always. Shinzaki, I don't know a whole lot about, but Hayabusa is an absolute legend in Japan and in deathmatch wrestling too. Maybe deathmatch wrestling especially. But this is a really good match. Once again, just four incredible pro wrestlers. And I don't even know what else to say. There is a really cool is the wrong word, but there's a spot where Van Dam does the Van Terminator with, I think, Hayabusa on the top rope, meaning that I think Bill Alfonso has to hold the chair way up in the air in front of Hayabusa's face, and Van Dam has to like launch at him and kick it. And boy, does he kick it. Excuse me. This is 1998. There's no, be careful. This just smacks Hayabusa in the face. Thankfully, he's a deathmatch wrestler. In the end, Sabu and RVD, they try to set up this table that just collapses. Both the legs just break. They use a couple tables, I'm pretty sure, before they set Hayabusa and Shinzaki on a table, do double dives through the table, and then RVD, I think it's RVD shoves Sabu. Maybe it's Sabu that shoves RVD. Point is, somebody shoved somebody because RVD and Sabu really didn't get along all that well, and they retain their titles. So, really good match. I think I only gave it, I have it written down here, 3.5 stars. Because it was fine, but all that opening, you saw how worked up I was. It really took me out of it at the start. Once the match gets going, it is really, really good. Again, four legends, let's just be honest. Even though I don't know much about Shinzaki, he's clearly a legend, and I could make a whole video on Hayabusa. So 3.5 stars, great tag team match. RVD and Sabu retain their titles. Up next, if I have my order right, is Taz versus Bam Bam Bigelow. And, well, actually, first, I didn't write down when this happened for some reason. I had all this in my notes on my phone. I must have not written it all down. There was a Dudley's promo at one point that you have to go see. They talk, I don't even know how to explain it, but they basically make it a religious promo, and it's just, Bubba Ray Dudley is on point, and it's really easy to buy into what he's talking about. I can ignore Joel Gertner, give or take. But yes, Taz and Bam Bam Bigelow, this is the match that made me choose this show. And because back in the day, I owned a little DVD called Bloodsport, the most extreme matches in ECW history. If you owned it, then you know. If you don't know, it was just a collection, 2 DVDs, hardcore matches in ECW. Lots of really good ones on there. And this one was on there, and it is a really good match. They spend about 8 seconds in the ring before they're brawling on the floor and in the crowd. This is one of those matches where I have remembered most of it anyway. Lots of throwing each other into chairs, hitting each other with chairs. Taz gets thrown into the wall. This is a pretty good feud as well from ECW that I remember very well. And Bam Bam, as good as he was, God, I am so sorry, everybody. I really am. Most of you probably just listen to these videos, but if you're watching it, I am trying my best here. But anyway, Bam Bam was great in the World Wrestling Federation, but I do think he had some more interesting ideas outside of it. If you've never watched Bam Bam wrestle and you like big guys that can move, check out Bam Bam. That's kind of where it started. At least in my opinion. I don't know why my voice is going. So I guess we better get through this before I have no voice. But anyway, so they're fighting on the outside. Bam Bam picks up a piece of barricade, just throws it at Taz's head, and Taz basically no-sells it and takes down Bam Bam. Does a couple of suplexes to Bam Bam, which always looks really cool because he's so big and Taz is obviously not so big, even though he's a suplex machine, to use his wrestling nickname, I guess. Before they start brawling, they go on the stage, and Bam Bam picks Taz up to, like, launch him, and Taz reverses it into a tornado DDT, and they go through the rampway. It looks really cool. The stage just, clearly it's gimmicked, but the way it breaks, it looks like it wasn't. It's all jagged, it looks horrible. Joey Styles does a good job selling it like the match has to be over. Shane Douglas is great on commentary going, "They're dead! They're dead!" After a few minutes, there's some movement. Excuse me. It's Bam Bam. He climbs out. Shane Douglas has a fit. He just screams, "It's Bam Bam!" I think I counted 4 times because, again, he wants Bam Bam to beat up Taz, so Taz doesn't take the world title from him. Then Taz gets up, rips some of the pieces down, does this, and he puts Bam Bam in the Taz mission, which is a choke if you don't know, and Bam Bam taps out. I didn't look up to see if he actually tapped out or not, because he is kind of doing this, but the referee calls it a tap out. Was he reaching for the ropes? That's what Shane Douglas screams, that he was reaching for the ropes. Excuse me. But nonetheless, referee's decision is final. Taz beats Bam Bam. Really, really good match. I still only gave it 3 stars. It did feel like it was a quick match, and it's more, let's see, yeah. You could give it 3.5 if you so choose. 3 to 3.5 for me, for sure. It's a good match. It's fun. It's one of those matches that sticks out in my brain, but it's not a 5-star classic by any stretch of the imagination. Shane Douglas loses it on commentary. He just screams the word bitch twice before he breaks his headset and just launches the monitor into the crowd, basically. But I'm sure it was a empty area where you could do that. I'm sorry, my voice, I don't know what's going on. I haven't been screaming or nothing. I am now, but probably why you guys have it just on sound. But yeah, a 3-star match. It was a good match. I'm not saying 3 stars is average. It's at least average. And then, like I said, you could bump it up to 3.5 because it was really good. And it was the whole reason I picked this show. So I did enjoy it. 3 stars. We then get to the main event. It's the Dudley Boys. And again, I'm sorry this one's such a short episode. If this seems short, maybe it's not. Maybe this is average, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whenever I'm done talking. But it's the Dudley Boys, Bubba, Devon, and Big Dick taking on Spike Dudley, Tommy Dreamer, and the Sandman. Before I go too far, this video is coming out after the very sudden, shocking allegations against Tommy Dreamer. I don't know what's going on. If you don't know, you can Google it. They're not Vince McMahon style allegations, but they did seem to come out of nowhere. So I'm not condoning anything. I watched the show before that happened. I didn't even know about him until this morning. Anyway, all that to one side. Once again, the funniest part of this match is the fact that the referee tries to pretend there's rules. So for the first little bit, there's like a regular 6-man tag match before they all just start beating the hell out of each other, fighting in the crowd, hitting each other with weapons. You know the deal in ECW. Tommy Dreamer, Spike, and Sandman all brought out ladders. Spike at one point climbs a ladder to the very top and just jumps on everybody. He just does. Excuse me. There's also about 75,000 people out there because you have the 3 Dudley boys in the match. You got Sign Guy Dudley. You've got Jeff Jones, who is a referee that was turned heel, I guess. And you have Joel Gertner, who I mentioned earlier. You have something else that I'll talk about shortly because it'd be worse if I ignored it. But earlier before the match got started, Joel Gertner made fun of the referee, Jim Molyneux, for being bald. And of course, Jeff Jones is a referee. And again, he had turned heel. And they were like, oh, he's a real referee. But easily my favorite part of this whole match, and I don't know why I remember this so clearly. I don't know what's happening with the freaking lighting. I'm sorry, everybody. Again, I'm really sorry. This video is nuts. Anyway, at one point, just a moment that I've had stuck in my head for years, and maybe it was in ECW video packages or something, but they have the Dudleys all hung up in the ropes, ready to do triple running drop kicks with chairs, when Joel Gertner tries to get involved, and Jim Molyneux hangs Joel Gertner in the ropes. They all come together, and they do 4-way drop kicks. So the referee, excuse me, I'm so sorry. This is so sudden. But the referee gets involved. They do all these big drop kicks. I couldn't rush through the video, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to power through for you guys. But at one point, Jeff Jones gets involved and hits a pile driver on this mannequin dummy blow-up doll that has Beulah McGillicuddy's picture on it because they had taken out Beulah McGillicuddy. So they were parading this around as a version of her. I'm not going to even go into what they call her or the nickname they gave her or anything because it's really, really offensive. But it was 1998. They're going to do what they're going to do. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying there's nothing I can do about it now. That's for sure. Before eventually, I believe Dreamer hits the Dreamer Driver on Devon and gets the 1, 2, 3. So the Dudleys suffer the loss on this one. Again, tons of weapon usage, like kendo sticks and chairs and ladders and this, that, and the other. But it was a good match. I gave it 3 stars. I think it's a good rating. It's pretty average. 6-man tag, brawl stuff. There was some aftermath here as well. Excuse me. Where Jack Victory showed up and just destroys a guitar over Tommy Dreamer's head. And then the Dudleys and Jack Victory start beating up these guys. New Jack comes out with throws of weapons at everybody. Uses a shopping cart to clothesline Big Dick Dudley out of the ring. It's just Hugh Morris, I'm pretty sure. But it was a good finish, a good end to the show. Everybody was really into New Jack. I think New Jack may have been underrated, actually, when he wasn't doing the New Jack thing. If you know, you know. If you don't know, watch the Dark Side of the Ring episode on him. But this was a fun show. Not a single match, in my opinion, was less than 3 stars. So overall, I gave it an A, right? An A is pretty high, but it's not an S. I don't think it was a B show. And I know 3 is average, but there's 2 4-star matches on here. 2 matches that are at least 3.5 star. Just a fantastic show overall. And like I said, an A, I think is the perfect rating for ECW Heatwave 1998. So I once again sincerely apologize for all the noise in the background, how late this video is in my voice. This just happened in the middle of the video. So I don't know if I just suddenly got sick or if I've been yelling too much and my voice is going. But we powered through. We made it. So thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave comments. I promise. If this is your first time here, as I get beat up, if this is your first time here, my voice doesn't do this. This isn't something that happens. Next week, Saturday of the Dead returns for its second episode. Well, I guess this Saturday. Saturday of the Dead returns for its second episode, where we will be covering queer horror. The next episode of this show, Retro Wrestling Rewind, will be in 3 weeks, and we will be covering the Great American Bash 1989. Old War Games match, Classic World title match, some other stuff. Just a good, classic pro wrestling show that I'm excited to cover. And I'm doing a Great American Bash because it's July. And on July 4th, I'll be doing MAW. So look forward to that as well. As I have got to get this fucking video finished. I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying to do my outro here. So like, share, subscribe, do all the things. I promise this Saturday we'll get back on the Saturday schedule. But until next time, this is JT Channel. I am JT. And I will see you in the next one. He's happy now.